Raider Nation, what's good? The silver and black faithful know that when something big is brewing in Las Vegas, you can feel it in the desert air. And today we've got updates that are going to shake your football soul. A coaching philosophy that's about to transform this entire organization from top to bottom. A front office shakeup that's sending ripples throughout the league, and a rookie wildcard that's unlike anything the NFL has ever seen before. And if you bleed silver and black, smash that subscribe button. Drop your like and let me know in the comments. Let's show the world that Raider Nation dominates every corner of the internet. If you think you've heard it all about this franchise, think again. Because what's happening inside the Raiders organization could rewrite the entire script of not just this season, but the next decade of football in Las Vegas. The pieces are moving, the chessboard is being reset, and some of the most unexpected players are about to take center stage in ways that will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about this team. It all starts with a man who's been around championship football longer than most players have been alive. When Pete Carroll stepped into that Allegiant Stadium facility for the first time as the Raiders head coach, something shifted. You could see it in his eyes, hear it in his voice, feel it in the way he carried himself through those hallways. This wasn't just another coaching gig, this was a mission. Carroll didn't just take this job to add another chapter to his legendary career. He took it because he saw something in Las Vegas that reminded him of those championship days in Seattle. Something that made him believe this franchise was ready to reclaim its place among the elite. The synergy Carroll described with general manager John Spytek and Tom Brady isn't just front office speak, it's the foundation of something special. When Carroll talks about that seamless connection, about speaking the same language, you can hear the excitement building in his voice. This is a coach who's been to the mountaintop, who knows what championship chemistry feels like, and he's telling anyone who will listen that he's found it again in the most unlikely place. The Raiders aren't just making moves to make moves, they're building something with purpose, with direction, with the kind of unified vision that separates contenders from pretenders. Carroll's emphasis on not holding back, on refusing to accept some distant timeline for success, speaks to the urgency that's permeating every decision in that building. This isn't a rebuild, this is a reload. The offensive revamp he's orchestrating isn't about incremental improvement over 3 or 4 seasons. It's about making a statement right now, about showing the AFC West and the entire league that the Raiders are done being patient, done being reasonable, done accepting mediocrity. The moves they've made this offseason aren't the moves of a franchise planning for tomorrow. They're the moves of a team that believes tomorrow is today. But just when it seemed like this coaching transformation was the biggest headline coming out of Las Vegas, another story began to rise from the shadows of the front office. And trust me, you're not ready for what comes next. The NFL is a business built on relationships, on trust, on the delicate balance between loyalty and results. When Tom Telesco walked into that Raiders facility as general manager, he carried with him the weight of expectations and the sting of disappointment from his time with the Chargers. Here was a man who had built rosters, who had found diamonds in the rough, who understood the intricate dance of salary caps and draft boards better than most. His drafting of Brock Bowers and Jackson Powers-Johnson showed flashes of the brilliance that had made him successful for so many years. The kind of talent evaluation that separates good general managers from great ones. But the NFL doesn't grade on potential, it grades on results. The decisions to sign Gardner Minshew and Christian Wilkins, moves that looked solid on paper, became the kind of choices that haunt executives long after they've cleaned out their offices. In a league where every decision is magnified, where every mistake becomes ammunition for critics, Telesco found himself facing the harsh reality that even experience, even good intentions, even smart football minds can't guarantee success in this unforgiving business. The transition from the front office to the broadcast booth represents more than just a career change. It represents a fundamental shift in how the league views veteran executives. When SiriusXM NFL Radio announced Telesco as their newest host, it wasn't just about adding another voice to their lineup. It was about recognizing that sometimes the most valuable insights come from those who've walked the walk, who've made the tough decisions, who felt the pressure of building a championship roster. At 52, Telesco isn't riding off into the sunset. He's repositioning himself in a league that never stops evolving, never stops demanding fresh perspectives. His decades in a league, from scout to executive, give him a unique vantage point that few media personalities can match. While some executives fade into obscurity after being fired, Telesco is choosing to stay connected, to share his knowledge, to remain part of the conversation. It's a move that shows resilience, adaptability, and perhaps most importantly, a recognition that there are many ways to impact the game you love. The Raiders may have moved on, but Telesco's story in the NFL was far from over. And just when you thought the front office shuffle was the most intriguing subplot in Las Vegas, something else began to emerge from the practice fields. Something that had coaches doing double takes, teammates shaking their heads in disbelief, and fans wondering if they were seeing things correctly. Believe it or not, the wildest part of this story hasn't even been told yet. Picture this. A 395-pound human being lines up in the backfield, takes a handoff, and bulldozes through defenders like they're traffic cones. It sounds like something out of a video game, like a glitch in the Matrix, like the kind of thing that only happens in the wildest dreams of football fans. But in the world of JJA, Pegs, the impossible becomes routine, the unthinkable becomes strategy, and the question isn't whether he can do it, it's whether the league is ready for what he brings to the table. When the Raiders selected Pegs in the 6th round, most draft analysts focused on his potential as a defensive tackle, his ability to anchor the interior line, his presence in the middle of the defense. What they didn't fully grasp was that they had just drafted the most unique offensive weapon in football history. And this isn't just a big man who happens to carry the ball occasionally. This is a 325-pound running back who understands leverage, who moves with surprising grace, who brings a completely different dimension to any offensive game plan brave enough to utilize his skills. His college statistics tell a story that defies logic. 21 carries for 69 yards and 7 touchdowns in his final season at Ole Miss. 7 touchdowns. When you're that close to the goal line and JJ Pegs is in the backfield, defensive coordinators don't have answers. How do you scheme against something that's never existed before? How do you prepare your defense for a player who combines the size of a defensive lineman with the ball-carrying instincts of a running back? You don't. You just hope your team never has to face it. The journey from tight end to defensive tackle to potential Wildcat quarterback represents more than just position flexibility. It represents the evolution of football itself. Pegs didn't just transfer from Auburn to Ole Miss, he transformed himself from a traditional player into something the game has never seen. His perfect one-for-one passing record might be a small sample size, but it adds another layer to the mystery, another wrinkle that keeps defensive coordinators awake at night, wondering what Pete Carroll and this Raiders coaching staff might have planned. The beauty of JJ Pegs isn't just in what he can do, it's in what he represents. In an era where specialization rules, where players are pigeonholed into specific roles, where the game becomes more predictable with each passing season, Pegs stands as a reminder that football is still capable of surprise, still capable of innovation, still capable of making us believe in the impossible. When the Raiders put the ball in his hands, and they will, because how could they not, it won't just be a play call, it'll be a statement. A declaration that this franchise isn't content to play by the old rules, isn't satisfied with conventional wisdom, isn't afraid to embrace the chaos that makes football beautiful. And that player, that 325-pound enigma who's been quietly revolutionizing what we think we know about football positions, was the one no one expected to dominate headlines. But now, he's the one they can't stop talking about. He's the piece of this Raiders puzzle that makes everything else make sense. The coaching philosophy that embraces innovation, the front office changes that prioritize fresh thinking, the organizational culture that values uniqueness over conformity. So the question isn't whether the Raiders can make a run this season, it's whether the league is ready for them when they do. With Pete Carroll's championship mentality setting the tone, the lessons learned from front office transitions providing wisdom, and JJ Pegs representing the kind of creative thinking that turns good teams into unforgettable ones, the Raiders aren't just building a roster, they're building a revolution. If this fired you up, don't forget to smash that like button, drop your boldest prediction in the comments, and subscribe, because Raider Nation, this story is just getting started, and you won't want to miss a single chapter of what promises to be the most exciting season in Las Vegas Raiders history.